The twin suns of Elindra cast a warm glow over the crystal towers, making the city shimmer like a sea of diamonds. From above, it seemed peaceful and perfect. But beneath the beauty, worry and fear had begun to creep into the hearts of the Elindrans. The Drakari, a merciless alien force, had been attacking nearby colonies, and Elindra was next. Its people, though advanced and proud, had never faced a threat like this. And yet, in the midst of fear, hope often arrived in the most unexpected forms. Kale, human explorer, had been on Elindra for several months. He was unlike the Elindrans' human, simple, seemingly fragile. But he carried a quiet determination that caught the attention of a few who watched him closely. Humans were rare on this planet. Most Elindrans doubted them, seeing them as weak, incapable, and unfit to face the dangers that their species might encounter. Kale, however, had already proven himself in small ways repairing technology, understanding complex patterns, and, most importantly, showing a kind of courage that was different from Elindran bravery. That evening, as the suns dipped toward the horizon, casting long, orange shadows across the palace gardens, Kale walked alone. Pondering the news that had spread throughout the city, the Drakari fleet was growing closer, and he could feel the tension in every conversation, every glance, every hurried movement. He did not expect anyone to interrupt his thoughts, certainly not Princess Lyria. The youngest daughter of the ruling queen, Lyria, appeared quietly, almost gliding across the marble path, her violet eyes shining with a mixture of worry and determination. She was young, no older than 20, but there was a weight in her gaze that made her seem older. Kale instinctively straightened, unsure of why she sought him out. "Human," she said softly, her voice barely louder than a whisper. "My mother is alone. Be her partner and help save our people." Kale blinked. Her words hit him like a sudden gust of wind. "Be her partner," he repeated, unsure he had understood correctly. I don't know if I can. I'm just..."
"Me? You are not just you," Lyria said, stepping closer.
Her hand reached out, resting lightly on his arm. "You understand things that no one else does. You think differently. You act when others hesitate. My mother needs someone like you, someone she can trust. Elindra needs you. If you do this, if you help her, you help all of us." Kale swallowed hard. He looked past her to the glowing towers, the city he had grown to admire, and the people he had come to care about. He thought of the rumors of Drakari attacks, the fear in the faces of the citizens, and the quiet strength of Princess Lyria, who now stood before him, placing all her hope in his hands. "But I'm not Elindran," he said quietly. "I don't have their power. I don't even belong here fully. How can I help?" Lyria's gaze was steady, unwavering. "It doesn't matter where you come from. Your courage, your mind, your heart, these are what matter. My mother may have power, but she is not strong enough to face what is coming alone. We need someone who sees beyond tradition, someone who sees the truth and acts. That someone is you." Kale felt the weight of her words settle on his shoulders. It was heavy, almost crushing, but it was also a challenge, a call to something greater than himself. In that moment, he realized that Elindra's fate was not only in the hands of the powerful, but in the hands of those willing to rise despite fear. Despite doubt, despite being underestimated, he looked at Lyria, her violet eyes shimmering in the fading sunlight, and saw the hope and trust that no one else had given him. Something deep inside stirred a sense of purpose he had never known. He nodded slowly. "I will do it," he said, his voice firm despite the flutter of nerves in his chest. "I will help your mother. I will help your people." Lyria's lips curved into the faintest smile, a mixture of relief and gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't know how much this means. Not just to my mother, but to all of Elindra." As the twin suns disappeared behind the horizon, Kale felt the first spark of something new: responsibility, courage, and the strange growing hope that even a human, small and fragile in the eyes of the Elindrans, could make a difference in the fate of an entire world. Kale entered the palace tower, his steps echoing softly against the polished floor. The air felt heavier here, filled with the quiet weight of worry and responsibility. He had met many Elindrans during his time on the planet, but none had felt as commanding and fragile at the same time as Queen Solara, Lyria's mother. She was smaller than he had imagined, with golden eyes that held both wisdom and exhaustion. But there was a quiet strength in her presence that made the room feel alive. Solara's gaze settled on him immediately, sharp yet weary. "You are human," she said, her voice calm but carrying a weight of challenge. "And yet, my daughter trusts you. Tell me, can you help me save my people?" Kale swallowed, feeling the enormity of her words. He looked into those golden eyes and saw not arrogance, not doubt, but desperation, the kind of desperation that comes when a ruler carries the fate of millions on her shoulders. I will do everything I can," he said, his voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in his chest. "I don't have your powers, but I will work with you and I will find a way." Solara's lips curved into a faint, tired smile. "That is all I ask." She gestured toward the large holographic map that shimmered in the center of the room. Lines of red and blue traced the movements of the Drakari fleet, showing their approach and their growing strength. "Our enemies are merciless. They do not care for our lives. We cannot wait for them to come closer. Every moment counts." Kale studied the map carefully. The Drakari were advancing faster than anyone had predicted. And Elindra's defenses, though strong, had weaknesses he could already see. He had spent years on different worlds, studying patterns, solving problems, and thinking outside the box. Here that knowledge mattered more than ever. "We need to strengthen your defenses, reorganize your forces, and prepare traps for the Drakari," he said. "If we can use their strength against them, we can hold them off longer."
Oh.
Solara nodded slowly. "You think like a human," she said softly. "We Elindrans often rely too much on our powers and our technology. Sometimes we forget the value of cunning and simplicity." The words struck Kale. He realized that despite their advanced technology, despite their magic and strategy, the Elindrans had been trapped in their own tradition. And he, a human, might be the key to breaking that pattern. It was an overwhelming thought, but it also filled him with purpose. For days, Kale worked alongside Solara, learning the intricacies of Elindran technology, the weaknesses of their enemies, and the strengths of their people. He observed the soldiers, studied the city's energy grid, and even trained with the Elindran guards, combining human intuition with their advanced techniques. Every night he returned to the Queen, and every night she guided him patiently. Teaching him more than just strategy, she taught him leadership, patience, and the deep love she held for her people. Outside the tower, whispers spread among the Elindrans. Some doubted Kale, calling him weak, an outsider, unworthy of trust. But others noticed his persistence, his courage, and the way he never backed down, even when everything seemed impossible. Slowly, the seeds of trust began to grow. One evening, as Kale reviewed the battle plans with Solara, Lyria appeared at the door. Her eyes were wide, filled with hope and worry. "Mother," she said softly, "he is learning. He is trying. I can see it. I know he will help us." Solara looked at her daughter, then back at Kale, a spark of pride in her tired eyes. "Perhaps your daughter is right," she murmured. "Perhaps humanity has lessons for Elindra that we have forgotten." Kale felt a strange warmth at those words, a sense of belonging he had never felt on any other world. He was just a human, fragile in comparison to the Elindrans. Yet here in the Queen's Tower, he had found purpose, responsibility, and a chance to make a real difference. The twin suns had set, and Elindra glowed under the light of its moons. Outside, danger loomed, but inside, Kale, Solara, and Lyria were preparing. The human might not have been strong, but he was determined. And sometimes determination was stronger than any weapon, stronger than any magic, stronger than fear itself. Kale woke before dawn, the soft light of Elindra's twin suns just beginning to touch the crystal towers. The palace was quiet, but the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on him. Today, he would start the most important work of his life, learning the Elindrans, complex systems to prepare for the Drakari attack. He had fought challenges before, but nothing like this. Ilindra's survival depended on him understanding their technology, their combat methods, and their strategy, and he was only human. Queen Solara waited for him in the central command chamber, a place filled with glowing maps, moving data streams, and humming machinery. "Kale," she said softly, "to defend Ilindra, you must think like us, but also like yourself. Do not rely only on what you see. Use your mind. Humans are different." "You see what others overlook?" Kale nodded, determined. He spent hours studying the energy shields that protected the city, communication networks that connected every tower, and the weapon systems designed to repel enemy ships. Everything was intricate, designed for Ilindrid minds that had evolved over centuries. At first, it was overwhelming. Patterns twisted in ways he had never imagined. But slowly, he began to see connections, to understand weaknesses and strengths that others had missed. The guards and soldiers watched him with skepticism. Many whispered that he was too fragile, too human to make a difference. "He doesn't belong here," they said. "Our queen's daughter trusts him, but we cannot." Kale heard their words, but did not let them shake him. He focused on the work, studying, practicing, and planning late into the night. Princess Lyria often stayed with him, sitting quietly as he worked. She told him stories of Ilindra's history, of battles fought with courage and wisdom, of the sacrifices her people had made. Sometimes she would gently guide his hand over a complex diagram or explain a rule of strategy. "You think differently," she said one night, her violet eyes bright in the candlelight, "and that is exactly what we need. Never forget that your human mind can see what ours cannot." Slowly, Kale began to feel the weight of the city's hope upon him, but also the strange warmth of belonging. The Ilindrans, despite their doubt, were beginning to notice his effort. Soldiers saw him running calculations for troop movements, studying enemy patterns, and improving defenses. Some began to whisper differently. Perhaps he is not weak. Perhaps he can help. One afternoon, while reviewing the city's outer shields, Kale discovered a small energy fluctuation that the Ilindran engineers had overlooked. If the Dracari noticed it, they could break through easily. He brought it to Solara's attention immediately. "We can reinforce it here," he said, pointing to a section of the map. "But we will need new protocols and a shift in shield patterns to make it stronger." Solara studied his suggestion, her golden eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "You have found what even our engineers missed," she said, a rare smile on her face. "You are learning quickly, Kale. Perhaps humans truly have a gift we underestimated: courage." Kale worked tirelessly, training with the guards, helping plan battle formations, and improving the city's defenses. Every day, he combined human intuition with Ilindran technology, creating strategies that no one had dared try before. And every day, he grew more confident, more capable, more part of Ilindra than he had ever imagined he could be. At night, when the work was done, Lyria would often find him staring out at the city, the glowing towers reflecting in his eyes. "Do you think we can survive?" she asked softly one evening. Kale turned to her, his face tired but determined. "We will survive," he said firmly. "Not because we are strong alone, but because we will fight together. Humans, Ilindrans. Together, we are stronger than they think." For the first time, Kale felt a deep sense of purpose and belonging. He was still human, still fragile in body compared to Ilindrans. But his mind, his courage, and his determination were becoming the very thing that could save an entire world. And for Ilindra, that was enough. The morning sky of Ilindra burned red as the first Dracari ships appeared on the horizon. Their black hulls cut across the twin suns like shadows of doom, and the air trembled with the hum of their weapons. Panic rippled through the city as citizens ran to shelters and guards scrambled to their posts. This was the moment Kale had been preparing for, the first real test of everything he had. Learned and planned, Queen Solara stood at the command balcony, her golden eyes scanning the approaching fleet. Beside her, Kale reviewed the battle plan one last time, heart-pounding but mind-focused. The Ilindrans had advanced technology, but sheer numbers and experience had always been their weakness. He would have to combine his human intuition with their systems to turn the tide. "Human," Solara said quietly, her voice steady despite the fear gripping the city. "Lead them." Show them that courage matters more than power alone. Kale nodded, swallowing the nervous lump in his throat. I will not fail, he promised. He moved among the soldiers, giving instructions, adjusting formations, improvising defenses. Human tactics and quick thinking guided the Elindrans in ways they had never tried before. Shift the shields to Quadrant 3. Focus fire on the lead ship. Pull the energy barriers tighter. He shouted, voice firm, commanding, yet infused with determination. The Drakari were relentless. Their ships tore through the outskirts of the city, energy blasts setting towers ablaze. Soldiers faltered, fear threatening to paralyze them. But Kale's presence, his calm yet unyielding determination, gave them courage. He ran to wherever the fight was fiercest, directing Elindrans and humans alike, showing them that fear could be faced. That courage was stronger than doubt. From the palace balcony, Lyria watched, her hands clenched tightly, heart racing. Kale moved like a force of nature, small and human, yet commanding respect and trust from Elindrans who had doubted him. Every decision he made, every order he shouted, shifted the battle in their favor. Then a Drakari ship broke through the outer shield, hurtling toward the city's energy core. Kale saw it in an instant and ran to the control console. Divert the plasma channels. Overload the shields. Now, he shouted. Guards scrambled to obey, and in a flash of light and energy the ship was repelled, crashing into the ground outside the city. The Elindrans cheered, a roar of relief and disbelief. Kale, drenched in sweat and dust, gave them only a brief nod before moving to the next threat. The Drakari regrouped, trying a new attack, but Kale anticipated it, predicting their movements like a chess master. Slowly, carefully, the tide began to turn. Queen Solara watched him closely. Remarkable, she whispered, pride glinting in her golden eyes. He is human, and yet, he is saving us. Hours passed like minutes. The Drakari fleet, battered and confused by Kale's unconventional strategies, began to retreat. Their ships limped back into the horizon, leaving Elindra battered but still standing. Exhausted soldiers collapsed, citizens cheered, and the city breathed again. Alive but wary of what might come next, Kale finally allowed himself to rest. Leaning against the railing, his chest heaving, Lyria approached quietly, placing a hand on his shoulder. You did it, she said softly, eyes shining. You saved us. Kale shook his head, a small smile on his lips, though fatigue weighed him down. Not just me. We did it together. Your people, your mother, the soldiers. Everyone played a part. For the first time, Kale felt the strange mix of relief, exhaustion, and quiet pride. He was human, small, and fragile in Elindran eyes, yet today he had changed how they saw him. He had earned their respect, not through strength or magic, but through courage, quick thinking, determination. But as the sun set over the recovering city, Kale knew this was only the beginning. The Drakar would return, stronger and more ruthless. Elindra had survived this first strike, but the real test was yet to come, and Kale, human among Elindrans, was ready to meet it. The victory over the Drakari was celebrated across Elindra, but not everyone rejoiced. In the grand halls of the palace, whispers of doubt and disapproval filled the air. How can we trust a human? Some council members muttered. He is not one of us. He cannot understand our ways. Others nodded silently, casting wary glances at Kale whenever he passed. Their words stung, but Kale refused to let their doubt shake him. Queen Solara noticed the tension, her golden eyes narrowing. She had fought battles in her lifetime, faced enemies and betrayal alike, and yet the council's skepticism tested her patience. Kale has proven his worth, she said firmly in a council meeting. Do not let prejudice blind you to courage, intelligence, and determination. Kale, standing quietly by her side, felt both gratitude and unease. He had fought alongside Elindrans in the battle, had saved the city using human ingenuity, and yet he still felt the cold shadow of their doubt. He was an outsider, fragile in body and untested in their traditions. And still, he cared deeply for these people who had begun to feel like home. Later that evening, found Princess Lyria waiting for him in the quiet palace gardens. The twin moons cast a soft silver glow over the crystal paths, and the air smelled faintly of blooming night flowers. She gestured for him to sit beside her on the low marble bench. "Do you feel it?" she asked softly, her violet eyes filled with concern. "The council doubts you even after everything, but I believe in you." Cale shook his head, a tired smile forming. "I'm just a human. I've done what I could, but sometimes it feels like it's never enough." Lyria placed her hand over his. "Your human mind, your courage, that is exactly why you are enough. You see solutions we overlook. You act when others hesitate. You remind us of what it means to fight, not just with power, but with heart." Her words reached him deep inside. For months he had been learning Elendran ways, yet here, she reminded him that his greatest strength was not in trying to be like them, but in being himself. "Thank you," he said quietly, feeling a warmth spread through him. "I won't let you down." The next days were filled with preparation. Cale and Queen Solara worked side by side, adjusting defenses, training soldiers, and developing strategies. Though some Elendrans resisted his ideas, many others began to see the truth in Lyria's words. Slowly, trust spread, and the bond between human and Elendran grew stronger. Solara, once reserved and cautious, began to confide in him, sharing memories of past battles, hopes for her people, and fears for the future. One evening, Cale noticed her standing alone on the balcony. Looking toward the horizon where Drakari scouts were rumored to appear, "Mother," he said softly, stepping beside her, "you don't have to face this alone. I'll be here with you." Solara turned, her tired eyes meeting his. For a moment, she said nothing, simply letting the quiet acknowledgement pass between them. Finally, she whispered, "You are human, and yet you understand more than anyone else." Perhaps this is what Elendra needed all along. Cale felt a surge of emotion, gratitude, pride, and a deep sense of responsibility. He had not only earned their trust in battle, but had become a bridge between two worlds. Humans and Elendrans so different could work together, learn from each other, and face any challenge side by side. That night, Cale stayed on the balcony, looking at the stars above Elendra. Lyria joined him quietly, and together they watched the city, knowing that while danger would come again, they were no longer powerless. The bond they shared, human and Elendran, daughter and warrior, queen and advisor, had created something stronger than fear, stronger than prejudice, and in that bond, Cale realized something profound. Courage was not measured by power or species, but by the willingness to act, to trust, and to stand with others when it mattered most. Elendra had survived the first strike, but more challenges awaited. Yet for the first time, Cale felt ready not just as a human, but as a part of this world, a part of its people, and a part of its hope. The skies over Elendra darkened as the Drakari returned, larger and more merciless than before. Their ships blotted out the twin suns, casting shadows over the crystal towers. Citizens trembled in fear and guards rushed to their positions, but this time, the human Cale stood at the center of the preparations, calm yet determined. The moment of ultimate test had arrived. Queen Solara, regal and resolute, stood beside him on the command balcony. "This is it," she said quietly. "We cannot fail. Not now, not ever." Her golden eyes scanned the horizon, taking in the massive fleet. "Cale, lead them. Show them that courage can be stronger than fear." Cale nodded. He had studied every weakness, every pattern, every strategy he could anticipate. Elendrans, while powerful, were often bound by tradition. Cale's human perspective had given them options they had never considered. "We fight together," he said firmly, looking at the soldiers assembled below. "Human, Elendranui are one. Remember your training. Trust each other. We will not fall." The Drakari attacked with a fury unlike before. Energy blasts tore through the skies and shields shimmered under the assault. Soldiers wavered, fear threatening to paralyze them. Cale ran among them, adjusting defenses, redirecting forces, and improvising tactics on the fly. "Shift the plasma shields. Concentrate fire on the lead flagship." Keep the energy barriers stable, he shouted. His commands carried authority, hope, and courage. Lyria watched from the balcony, her hands trembling. Kale's presence had become the anchor for everyone, human and Elendran alike. Each decision he made, each risk he took, inspired those around him. The soldiers began to move with confidence, shields aligning perfectly, weapons firing in coordinated patterns, and defenses adapting to the Drakari attacks. Then Kale spotted the Drakari flagship breaking formation, heading straight for the capital. He acted instantly. Divert all plasma energy to the central grid. Fire the overcharged cannons. His voice cut through the chaos. Soldiers obeyed without hesitation. The energy surged, the flagship was hit, and it spiraled out of control, crashing violently into the distant mountains. The Elendrans cheered, but Kale did not pause. The battle was far from over. The Drakari pressed harder, but Kale anticipated their movements, creating traps and diversions using the city's own energy network. Queen Solara fought alongside him, commanding troops, her golden eyes fierce with determination. Lyria directed communications, ensuring that every corner of the city was connected and coordinated. For the first time, Elendra's human ingenuity and Elendran power worked in perfect harmony. Hours passed. The sky filled with fire and smoke, and soldiers grew exhausted. Yet Kale's resolve never faltered. Each moment, he reminded them that unity was strength, that courage could overcome even the greatest of odds. Slowly, systematically, the Drakari began to retreat, their fleet broken, their attacks scattered. Elendra had survived the final strike. As the last enemy ship vanished beyond the horizon, Kale stood with Solara and Lyria on the balcony. Breathing heavily, but feeling a strange peace. The city below had endured, its people alive, its towers intact, its hope renewed. Solara looked at Kale, her golden eyes glistening with emotion. You are human, yet you have saved Elendra. Not through magic or power, but through heart, courage, and wisdom. Today, you have proven what humans are capable of. Kale shook his head, a small, tired smile forming. I only did what I could. We did this together, soldiers, citizens. You, Lyria. We all fought for this city. Lyria stepped closer, her violet eyes shining. You showed us that strength is not measured by species, but by courage and determination. You changed our world today. For the first time, Kale felt truly part of Elendranaut, an outsider, not just a human, but a symbol of hope and unity. He had faced doubt, fear, and impossible odds, and together, they had prevailed. As the twin moons rose over the city, reflecting off the crystal towers, Elendra looked toward a future without fear. Humans and Elendrans side by side had proven that courage, trust, and unity could overcome even the deadliest threat. And Kale, small and human, stood at the heart of that triumph. Forever changing the fate of a world, the aftermath of the battle left Elendra quiet but alive. The streets were filled with citizens cautiously emerging from shelters, staring at the crystal towers that still gleamed under the twin suns. Though the city bore scars-burned rooftops, shattered walkways, and smoke rising from distant fires, the people felt a new light in their hearts. They had survived, not by power alone, but by courage, unity, and hope. Kale stood on the palace balcony, looking out over the city. He was tired, his body aching, yet his spirit was unbroken. Beside him, Queen Solara and Princess Lyria stood silently, sharing the quiet satisfaction of survival. Elendra had been tested and had endured, and at the heart of that endurance was a human, small, fragile, and yet unstoppable in spirit. The people gathered in the palace courtyard, their faces filled with relief and admiration. The guards who had once doubted Kale now bowed in respect. Citizens whispered his name in reverence. They had seen courage where they least expected it, bravery that transcended species and tradition. Humans had never been part of their legends or histories. Yet Kale had become one now, an unlikely hero in a world that had once underestimated him. Queen Solara stepped forward, her golden eyes sweeping over the crowd. She raised her hand, and silence fell. People of Elindra, she began, her voice strong and clear, today we have faced a threat unlike any other. We nearly lost our home, but we did not. We survived because of unity, courage, and trust. And one among USA's human reminded us of these truths. Kale has shown that bravery is not measured by species, but by heart and action. Let this day be remembered not as the day of fear, but as the day we discovered a new strength in ourselves. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices echoing through the city. Kale, overwhelmed by emotion, felt Lyria's hand rest lightly on his arm. She smiled, violet eyes shining with pride and gratitude. You saved us, she whispered. Not just my mother, not just the city, but all of Elindra. Kale shook his head, a humble smile forming. We saved it together, he said. Your courage, your mother's wisdom, the soldier's determination, none of this would have been possible without all of you. Solara approached him, her expression softening. Kale, you came to us as an outsider, a stranger, and yet you became part of our family, our city, and our hope. You have changed Elindra forever. For the first time, Kale felt the true weight of what he had accomplished. He had begun as a visitor, a human in a world that doubted him. But through persistence, courage, and compassion, he had earned a place among the Elindrans. He realized that being human was not a weakness, it was a strength. His differences had allowed him to see solutions where others saw none, to act when others hesitated, and to inspire a city to rise against impossible odds. The sun began to set, painting the sky in gold and crimson. Kale, Solara, and Lyria stood together, looking out over a city that had been saved, a people that had been united, and a world that had learned a valuable lesson, that courage, trust, and the willingness to act could overcome even the deadliest enemy. Lyria turned to him one last time, her voice soft but filled with meaning. Thank you, Kale. You reminded us of what it means to hope, to fight, and to believe in each other. Kale smiled, feeling a warmth he had never known. No, he said quietly. You reminded me. Humanity can be strong, but it is when we stand together, human and Elindran alike, that we are truly unstoppable. As night fell over Elindra, the twin moons reflected off the crystal towers, bathing the city in gentle silver light. The people celebrated quietly, their hearts filled with pride and gratitude. And Kale, once a stranger, now stood as a hero, a bridge between worlds, and a symbol of courage that would be remembered for generations. Elindra had faced the darkness and survived. And in that survival, a new era had begun, one where hope, unity, and courage were stronger than fear, where humans and Elindrans could stand together, and where even the smallest, most unlikely hero could change the fate of an entire world.